Hey everyone, y'all already know I'm here. I'm here to give you my take on Iyanla Fix My Life. This is season 6, episode 9, titled Sex Workers Addicted to the Struggle. Okay, now before we get into this, if this is your first time on this channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Join the family. I promise to give good commentary. I promise. Okay, now back to the matter at hand, y'all, because this is a serious matter. This is serious business. This episode was heavy, okay? And even if you're not a sex worker or you don't know anything about sex workers, the nuggets that Iyanla dropped in this episode can really benefit any and everybody, specifically anybody that feels trapped in a situation, in your mind, in a situation, in a relationship. Iyanla got you, okay? So if you can't afford therapy right now, go ahead and watch this episode. But anyways, these two women in specifically that we dealt with on this week's episode, they felt trapped into doing what they had to do to survive, which was being sex workers. Unfortunately, their occupations that they chose stripped them of their dignity and respect. And this is why they've written into Iyanla. There's two women. There's Quneitra and there is Lauren. Quneitra is 28 years old. Lauren is 27. Iyanla meets with them in the beginning because she basically says in order to understand the end, you have to go back to the beginning. So see basically where all this came from. So just to split up the two, I'll start with Quneitra. Quneitra has been escorting for 5 years. She's 28 years old. Let's go all the way back to when she first started prostituting. She basically had gotten a new car. She had a job at a factory. She lost her job, but she needed to pay for her car. So she linked up with a friend. The friend convinced her to go and meet up with her to go meet with some guys so they could have 30 minutes with them, and they both got $108 out of the deal. To Quneitra, that was fast money. That was quick money. Although she felt disgusted, she felt like trapped in a situation. She was doing what she had to do because she had this financial obligation of her new car. So she does specifically tell Iyanla that for the first 2 to 3 years of her prostitution, she felt disgusted every single time she did it. However, in the most recent years, she's kind of just grown numb to it. She doesn't put her heart into it, and she's just kind of like, it is what it is, and I'll just try to block it. Okay. She's really not accepting and owning reality of like what is going on in her life at this point. Iyanla wants to know more of her background situation, to go back to the beginning of time before she even got to this prostitution. So Quneitra speaks on her pregnancy. So she has 2 kids right now. One is 12, one is 8. But she had the 12-year-old when she was 15 years old. So she was pregnant at the age of 15 in a household with her mother. Her father was locked up, so he wasn't there. So now she's a fatherless child. 2, her mother is there, but when she found out that Quneitra was pregnant, she was extremely disappointed, especially being that Quneitra was heavily involved in sports, and she had a promising future ahead of her. So Quneitra did not want to get an abortion. When she didn't agree to it, Quneitra's mother actually packed her stuff and moved out the house. So she basically left her daughter at a time where she needed her the most. Iyanla asked Quneitra, who taught you about self-respect or what it means to have self-respect? Quneitra says, oh, my mother, my grandma, my uncles, and Iyanla cuts her off and was like, no, honey. How can you say that when your mother left you at a time in your life where you needed her the most? You were literally a child getting prepared to raise a child. Now, of course, you may have disappointed her because you're pregnant at 15 years old, but that wasn't a time for her to leave you. That was a time for her to cling on to you more because you were going to need her more than ever. She may have been disappointed because she felt like maybe you didn't respect yourself, in that moment to end up pregnant in this situation. But like, she didn't help you grow from that. Actually, she pushed you back because she left you. Quneitra did say, well, she felt like it was her fault at the age of 26, she finally apologized because she felt like she changed the entire dynamic of the family. She just felt like she let them down, when in all reality, they let her down as well. So we'll get to that. So now let's go to Lauren. Lauren is 27 years old. She has been escorting for 12 years, which is crazy because she started when she was 15 years old when she ran away from home. The first night she ran away from home, she slept with 5 to 6 men. 5 to 6 men. She literally just gave up pieces of herself to 5 to 6 men. Now imagine the maturity of a 15-year-old and giving her body away to these grown men. First of all, that is disgusting that there's grown men out there like that. I mean, we know there is, but oh my gosh, it's horrible. Like, I can only imagine what that has done to her mentally. But at this point, Lauren doesn't even realize it, because you can tell by her demeanor, she's the type of person where she just tries to block things out. She wants to make it seem as normal as possible and doesn't really want to face the reality. She puts up this wall like she's tough and she's hard and yada, yada, yada. Like, I can take this. I will survive through this, which it's helped her to survive all these years, but it's not good because she's not acknowledging like what's really going on in her life and how it's affecting her. So how will she be able to move on? This is a reoccurring theme for her throughout the show. Okay. So of course she's asked about her family as well and who taught her self-respect. No one taught her self-respect. Her father was a Rolling Stone. She had several stepmothers. So she really didn't have a mother figure to look up to because her mother was out on the streets and she was homeless. So she had a father that was present, but he didn't know what to do with her. Didn't really spend, didn't really focus as much on her as he should have. So he was present, but physically, but not in the way that she needed him to be as a father. So she is the same as Quneitra in a sense that both of them are motherless and fatherless children who are now a product of the sex workers community. Okay, doing what they think they have to do, growing up way too fast because they felt like they had to because they didn't have the support. Okay, so Iyanla asked them, what are the names, what are their identities when they're out on the street escorting? Quneitra says her identity is Monroe. Lauren's identity is Tasha. So, first exercise, there are 2 poster boards in the shapes of women, and one represents Monroe, one represents Tasha. Iyanla wants them to fill out sticky notes and put it on the boards, and the sticky notes are supposed to be what they have personally referred to their escort identities as. Like what situations they feel stuck in, and I think some of the things that they have done. Yes. Sorry, Al. Yeah, some of the things that they have done. She wants them to place them on the board, the things they've been through. Basically, identifying who Monroe and who Tasha is, aside from Quneitra and Lauren. Okay, so as Quneitra works on this drill, Quneitra is open to this whole process. Lauren was the one that I said that's a bit reserved. So Iyanla speaks with Lauren one-on-one to kind of try to like loosen her up a little bit, see where her head is. She gets a little bit more background information on her to realize she didn't have a mother around or a grandmother. She's felt alone for a very long time since her mother was in the streets. And the mental health issue that she suffers from is depression. And whenever she's in a situation where she feels unsafe, she just kind of shuts down and goes through the motions. And Iyanla picked up on that because she felt like that's what Lauren was doing in this healing process. And Lauren, admitted that she doesn't feel safe, but she's just trying to get through it because she knows that, she needs to be there. That's what she needs to do. And Iyanla tells her that's the mistake she's making because that's the same thing that she does as a sex worker. As an escort, she goes through the motions. She shuts down, becomes numb, and just goes through the motions because she feels like she's doing what she needs to do to earn some type of financial income so that she can support herself. So it was an interesting correlation. At this point, Lauren really hasn't acknowledged or spoke her truth, but she's still open to going through the process. Okay, so next we have Iyanla speak to Quneitra one-on-one. She basically says, Iyanla tells Quneitra, from what she's observed, there seems to be a part of Quneitra that likes being a sex worker. And Quneitra admitted, like sometimes it's okay because I like having conversations with people. I like some of the people that I meet. Um, and then Iyanla asked her, well, how does that affect your heart? And she says, oh, no, it doesn't, because my heart is not in it. My heart has nothing to do with this. I leave that out. Although I think she probably thinks that she leaves it out, but she's still affected deep down inside. And I think that's affecting her heart. Or I don't know that she would feel bad about it in any type of way, or even be seeking help at this point. So Iyanla knows that Quneitra has a 12-year-old son. So she asks her, think about the day when you have to tell your son that I slept with all these different men just to put food on the table. How is that going to make you feel? And she said, embarrassed, like completely embarrassed. And then Iyanla reminds her, you are raising an African American male. He's going to be somebody's father and somebody's husband one day. So by what you're doing, what do you think you're teaching him as far as being a man? So of course, that's when her son does find out about this some way, it's going to have him think of men differently. Her son's fathers are not around, and she sleeps with men to gain money. They basically like treat her like trash, like nothing, to gain money just to support her family. So it already paints men in an extremely negative light, and that this is how men are supposed to treat women. So a lot of people think that, oh, I didn't treat my kids to do this. I didn't treat them to do that. I don't know why they turned out this way. That's not necessarily true. Just because you didn't say do A, B, and C doesn't mean that your actions didn't say that. Or you being with someone or around someone who portrayed certain actions. That was you teaching them. That was you saying, this is okay. This is acceptable. Because I have this in my bubble, in my world. It's acceptable. So those are things that a lot of people need to watch out for that she probably didn't even recognize at that moment in her life. Okay, so then Quneitra goes as far as to say that having her son was the worst thing that ever happened in her life. And Iyanla is taken back by that, like, whoa, 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 don't say that. And Quneitra is like, no, look, I'm being honest with you. He's a blessing. I love my kids. But what I'm saying is, like, I feel like having my kids ruined and stopped my hopes and dreams in life. Like, I loved playing softball, and all of that was ruined. I don't necessarily think that that's true, but her 28 years old now, and in the moment she is in her life, of course, that rings true to her. However, I think things may have turned out differently for her if her mother was there to support her and she didn't leave her. I know plenty of people who have had children at young ages. Now, those were not their intentions. However, that doesn't mean that their life stopped or they had to give up on their dreams. And for the people I know that didn't give up on their dreams, they had supporters and people in their ear telling them, this is not going to stop you. You can keep going. You can still do this. You can still live the life you want to live. You're just going to have to work a little bit harder, but it can be done. And they've had support systems. In Queneitra's situation, she didn't have the support system. And she didn't have someone to push her to still go for her dreams. So in a sense, she gave them up. So that's why she feels like, oh, my kids ruined my life. She takes all the responsibility for everything. Iyanla even tells her, because Iyanla was a teenage mother, she tells her, like, look, you didn't make this baby on your own. Like, whether your kid's father is around or not, you have to let him carry some of that burden, okay? You carry half, he carries the other half. But you carry all this stress and you blame everything on yourself. When technically you were rejected, you were abandoned by both your mother and the father of your children. So you're going to have to let some of this go in order to move forward. And of course, every episode we have that motherly Iyanla hug that all of her guests need at some point or another. And that is when Iyanla embraces her and she's just breaking down, crying and venting to her. And it was definitely a good releasing moment for her. Okay, so then basically Iyanla wraps up that scene by saying, hurt, pain, and trauma is controlling these women and making them feel powerless at this point. So the goal is to get past that hurt, pain, and trauma. Now, a really good nugget that that Iyanla said was that, and I have this word for word quoted. So many of us sit in our dysfunction until it becomes normal. We don't even realize that it is eating us alive. Until we take a step back and identify it, we will remain stuck. And that is what these women are doing at this point. And this is why specifically Lauren is remaining stuck. But she has to take a step back, identify it, so that she can be able to move forward. Okay. So, then Iyanla goes back into the room. They have their poster boards for the first exercise. They don't have very many sticky notes on these other identities. Iyanla then basically tells them, like, hey, y'all missing a lot here, okay? They had similar identifiers. They were missing fatherless, motherless, manipulated, abandoned, rejected, etc. There's all these things where they have to put it on the board so they can see it, so they can see this is who I am when I'm out there in the streets, but I do not want this person to be who I am in real life. Okay. So then Iyanla sends them to their room to answer some questions in the back of the book in their room overnight. Okay. Meanwhile, Lauren approaches a producer saying that she wants to leave the process. Of course, Iyanla goes and speaks to her about this. She basically tells Iyanla, look, she doesn't see the benefit in this. She's had counseling at home before. She's worried about her finances and keeping a roof over her head. And Iyanla is like, oh, so you want to leave so you can go turn some tricks? And she's like, you can tell she's like, Lauren is irritated, but she's just trying to be calm. Lauren basically says, like, I don't know. I just thought I would get more out of this experience, and I'm not. But personally, we know that she's not open to this experience at this point. Iyanla tells Lauren that she thinks that Lauren is just scared to feel. When you start feeling these emotions, you know that things could possibly start changing in your life. And she's been escorting for 12 years, so she's kind of resistant to change. I believe at that point it was fear of the unknown, of what was happening next. So she literally wanted to make up an excuse just to run from the situation. Okay. At this point, Iyanla tells her, I know it's scary, but you're not in this by yourself. I'm here for support. At this point, you're very guarded, empty, and numb, and I want to help you get past that. So you let me know what you want to do. Okay, so then we have day 2. At this point, we see Lauren and we see Quneitra on camera. Now, y'all, I've said Lauren's name so many times because Iyanla had to take out so much time with this girl separately that I almost felt like maybe they didn't show us on camera, but I felt like it was taking away from Quneitra's time, and Quneitra wanted to be there. And so I know that, Iyanla wants both of them to win. I just kind of felt like it was unfair to Quneitra because she was being stripped of her time with Iyanla because Lauren wanted to leave every 5 minutes. Like, if you don't want to be there, if you're not going to be open to it, then you should leave. So I'm only saying this because it's day 2, and to start off the exercise, they were just doing light yoga. This was basically a way of reclaiming their bodies. Yoga is good for you. Maybe it was a way to see and feel their body in a different way. However, before the exercise even started, Lauren says, I'm not doing this. I don't want to do this. I'm not in shape. I'm not doing it. She quit before she even tried. This point, Iyanla's irritated, okay? Just like I would have been. She confronts Lauren. Lauren says, I'm tired of all these cameras, yada, yada, yada. I just ready to go home. Iyanla's like, girl, you signed up to be on a television show. You knew there were going to be cameras. So what is the problem? So she's just like, I don't want to do this. I'm just sorry. I can't do this. Lauren has like a pattern of shutting down basically and running away from situations that make her feel uncomfortable in some type of way. So Iyanla sits down with Lauren and she gives her the letter that Lauren wrote to Iyanla. Now, Iyanla asked her, if you say you aren't getting much out of this experience, then tell me, what all are you putting into it? And she said, not really anything. And I thought that that was a great analogy to use because, first of all, if you don't go into a situation, whether it's therapy, whether it's church, whether it's a one on one conversation with someone you had a relationship with, maybe you're trying to mend something, if you don't go into it expecting something to come out of it or something good, you're not going to get anything out of it because you're not going to put anything into it. So that's all I got to say. But at this point, Lauren is still resistant, but she agrees to still continue to go through the process. And I'm like, Iyanla, stop doing this with her. She doesn't need to be babied, okay? Do this process if you're ready to do it. Okay, so then Iyanla talks to them about their completed homework assignments. Basically, they're asked the question, what they had to answer the question, what am I ashamed of today? Lauren said that she's ashamed of being used and believing lies. And she said, okay, so when did you feel that way? So Lauren says, I feel that way right now. I feel like I'm being used to create a television show so that I can be an example to other people that are in my situation or are considering getting into my situation. I'm being used as an example. And Iyanla was like, right. But do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing because you're helping people? She said, I think it's a good thing. Okay. So then we have Quneitra. Quneitra had to finish the sentence. What I'm ashamed of today is ... Quneitra admits, like, I'm not ashamed, to be honest. Like, I've been doing this for 5 years. I'm not ashamed of it anymore. A part of me enjoys it. But I am tired. Like, I'm just tired of being tough all the time. I'm tired of being on the road. I'm tired of not being able to be around my kids. I'm just tired of this life. Like, I really just want to retire it. There has to be more out there for me. Okay. So then Iyanla asked them, to write down what you need to elevate so that you can see it and you can feel it. So kind of like when a lot of people nowadays do vision boards. So you can see a picture of a literal picture of where you would like to see yourself in the year 2018. So Lauren writes down that she wants to stand in her truth. So this is a breaking point moment for Lauren. She wants to stand in her truth of being a loving mother, of being giving, not being mean or resistant. Basically, that wall she puts up. She wants to stand in her truth of who Lauren is, not who Tasha is. She gets really emotional at this point and starts crying. At this point, she's allowing herself to feel. And I think that's why she's crying, because at this point in her life, she's realizing, okay, I don't want to be Tasha. This is Tasha. I have been Tasha for 12 years. There is a part of me that's opening up, and I want to be Lauren now. And I'm feeling it, and a change is possible to come along with this. So, Iyanla is very excited for her at this point. Then we have Iyanla tells her, she reminds her, who you are is not what you do. So a lot of us have done bad things in life. Lauren has done bad things or things that have stripped her of her dignity and of her pride. However, that's not who she is. She doesn't have to sit in that. She can see herself as another person and become that person, stand in her truth that she's always wanted to be, claim who she really is, not who she felt like she was trapped inside of, being Tasha. Okay, so then Iyanla asked both of the girls, like, okay, you guys think that you're not capable of doing other careers. Well, in your current occupation, there are a lot of marketable skills that you have. You have to be a good negotiator. You have to be a keen observationalist. You'll know whether somebody's good or if they're bad or they're trying to play you or not. You ultimately have to be a salesperson. You have to be extremely determined. All of these 4 things that she just named are great marketable skills. Now, of course, you can't put that on your resume and say, look, this is what I did for the last 12 years of my life. But you having those skills, you can go in there and sell yourself legally, not in the fashion that they have been illegally for the past 5 to 12 years. Okay. So they both agree that they're willing to kill their identities, their streetwalker identities, and they literally destroy their cardboards and they put them in the trash can. Um, Iyanla tells them, as you see yourself differently, you will treat yourself differently. And I am a strong believer in this. Whenever I'm having a horrible day, a bad day, I'll do my hair, put on some like nice clothes, or some corporate America clothes, and like I just feel different. I feel better about myself. I just feel like, okay, I'm like a new woman today. But anyways, Iyanla then tells them that because she wants to basically give them a makeover so they can see themselves differently. They probably can't even remember the last time they've dressed themselves up and really respected and taken care of Lauren and Quneitra. So she introduces them to a stylist, a hairdresser, and a makeup artist. She gives them the opportunity to shed Tasha and Monroe once and for all. So they both get their makeovers. They have a really nice outfits, kind of business-like outfits, or like something you would wear to church. And you can tell they have genuine smiles on their faces. Like they looked refreshed. They feel happy. They feel like, okay, I can go out here and conquer the world. Like I feel different. Like I can really do this. A lot different than when they came into Iyanla's process on day one. When she sees them, she's like, "Wow, you ladies really look great." They had their hair done, their makeup. It was really beautiful, and you could tell that they were really accepting their like new identities of who they truly were. Then they are introduced to Miss Catherine. So Miss Catherine was sitting on the couch with Iyanla. She is actually a former sex worker. She runs a program that helps women that are in the same situation that they're in. Because, of course, she used to be in that situation. This program is actually in Houston, Texas. And at this point, Iyanla is inviting them to go out and spend some time with Miss Catherine in the program. Miss Catherine tells them, first thing first, that you have to learn when you're trying to make this transition in your life from doing what you're doing now to moving on to the real world, regular life outside of these illegal activities. You got to learn to like yourself first. You got to build that confidence up within yourself where you don't need that from someone else. And I think that that's great information for all of us, regardless of what your occupation is, your situation. You have to learn to like yourself, because even if you don't like yourself or love yourself, you're definitely not going to believe that anybody else does. So you're going to have to learn to like yourself. Then Iyanla goes as far as to say, I mean, of course, they are very happy about the Houston, Texas program. Iyanla ends the show by saying there are 40 to 42 million men and women trapped in the sex trade industry as of today, which is absolutely crazy to me. Then she ends it with a really good quote, like she always does. Her quote is, "Never give up 5 minutes before the blessing, because you never know how your help and your healing is going to show up." Bam. That was good stuff, y'all. So just as a wrap up, we get an update from Lauren and Quneitra. Lauren says she's slowly moving away from escorting and into the home healthcare industry. So it's good that she has something lined up. I didn't expect them to leave the process and be totally different from a 2-day experience. But the fact that she is venturing into doing something else better with her life, I'm happy for her, especially since she was so resistant to it. Quneitra simply says that her time with Iyanla made her grow and that she's getting blessed daily. It's a little vague. We don't know what that means. We hope and pray that she's not still in the sex trade industry. Hopefully she's not, and she's just, turned her life around, and maybe she just didn't want to go into a lot of detail. But whatever the case, I thought it was a really great episode. I would love to hear you guys' feedback. As usual, like, comment, and subscribe, and check me out on my next video. Bye.